Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And hi, I'm Ummu Hani Binti Ahmad, matric number 1621892. So today in this video, I would like to share with you guys some information regarding on Sharia screening process and its implications to the financial performance of the company. So for your information, if the company want to be listed as a Sharia compliance company in Bursa Malaysia, the company needs to go through several screening process from regulatory body known as Securities Commission Malaysia, or known as SCM. And but who are actually the Security Commission Malaysia, and what is their role functions in the market? So basically, Security Commission was established on 1 March 1993 under the Security Commission Act 1993, or known as a SCA. And Security Commission is one of the entrusted body that responsible to regulate and develop the Malaysian's capital market. And their mission is actually to promote and secure and maintain the transparency of the securities in the market. Besides that, the roles of the Securities Commission Malaysia are approving the authority for corporate bond issues, give license and supervising all the companies or corporation in Malaysia, and they are also ensuring the proper conduct of market institutions. And lastly, they are also one of the regulatory bodies that will do the Sharia screening process in order to recognize that either the company is Sharia compliance or non-Sharia compliant firm. So now let's talk on the Sharia screening methodology that has been utilized by the Sharia Advisory Council of Security Commissions Malaysia in classifying the company as a Sharia compliant and Sharia non-compliant. So before I explain more about the Sharia screenings, let's have some short brief about Sharia Advisory Council, or known as a SAC. So first of all, SAC is responsible to ensure that the implementation of the Islamic capital market is complied with the Sharia principles, and they are also give some advice on all matters related to the comprehensive developments of the Islamic capital market, and give some advice if there is any issues related to the Islamic capital market or Sharia compliant stock. So that is a little bit about what is actually Sharia Advisory Council's this. And next we can see from the poster here the list of members of the Security Sharia Advisory Councils, and one of the member of the Sharia Advisory Council is Datuk Dr. Muhammad Daud Bakar, which is one of our beloved IUM president, and we should be proud of it because he has been appointed as chairman for the SAC in the Securities Commission Malaysia. So now let's move into Sharia screenings methodology. So first of all, there is one article written by Nur Latifa Adams and Nordin Abu Bakar discuss on the Sharia screenings process in Malaysia. And in these articles, the authors mentions that companies needs to do Sharia screenings process in order to be certified as a Sharia compliance firms, and we need to conduct the Sharia screenings in order to eliminate the stocks that we believe to be unacceptable for investment because it's contain some or several prohibited elements such as gara, riba, gambling, which is very contradict to the Sharia principle. So in this process of stock screening, we will see either two results which are positive and negative screening. For the positive screenings, it shows that the investment of the company involved in providing the basic necessity to the society, which is actually good for the company. And while the negative result is referring to the company that have more concentrations on the unethical activities that is really such as a bad relationship with the employees. So it's not good for the company to follow the unethical activity. Thus, according to the research by One Adiba Khairul Anwar and Siti Rahayu from University Technology Mara, they mentions that there are three-level process of or methods that we need to go through in order to classify the company as Sharia compliance and non-Sharia compliant. So firstly is the process of filtering the primary activities of the company. So in these levels of process, we must ensure that the company is does not involve in any business operations that might be related to riba, gambling or gara, and practicing the financial activity from the this prohibited element is really contrary to the Sharia. So the tendency of the company to become recognized as the Sharia compliance is lower. And the second process that need to be done is a financial ratio screens process, where the company have a certain limitation or benchmark that need to be followed. For example, in this ratio analysis, ratio screening process, company need to purify their earnings and must make sure that their interest less than 5% in order for the company to be listed as Sharia compliant. And if the company earning from the interest is more than 5%, so they will be listed under non-Sharia compliant firm in Bursa Malaysia, because they not follow the standard or benchmark that have been set by the Security Commission Malaysia or Dow Jones. And last method is a qualitative screening. For this part, we will look on the status or image of the company. For instance, if the company do advertisements about alcohol, definitely the company is bound under non-Sharia compliant by the public, right? So companies should go to the three screening process in order for them to certify as a Sharia compliant firm. But if let's say the company not success in the first level of screening process, they cannot go to the next level of screening process because they already not meet the requirement at the first place. Okay, next we will discuss on the benchmarks that are utilized by the SEC of Securities Commission in assessing the financial management and performance of company. So in order for the company to be recognized as Sharia compliant, they need to be fulfill certain requirement of benchmarks that has been set by the Security Commission Malaysia and Dow Jones. So in this process, we will check the revenues of the company to see either the company have any prohibited income in their business transactions or their operating business. So SAC have set a certain acceptable ratios for the company to be followed. And so you can see from this table, based on the Securities Commission Malaysia, the business activity that is not allowed, such as financial service that involve riba and conventional insurance and etc. While for Dow Jones, any business activities that related with alcohol, tobacco, and any prohibited business activity is prohibited. Now we're moving on into the financial ratio part. From these tables, it actually explains on the acceptable income from the involvement of non-permissible activity. Only this list of ratio is allowed for the company to keep their earnings. For example, if you can see in this table, the company must ensure that only 5% of their income based on interest is allowed to be kept for the company. So meaning that if the company receive 5%, more than 5% of the interest, so the company cannot be considered as Sharia compliant, because they are not fulfill the standard that has been set by the Securities Commission Malaysia. And same goes to the Dow Jones benchmark. Dow Jones benchmark is a little bit strict because they view the business activity in overall or in general, and not looking at the subsidiaries. Here we can see that in the list on the table, debts and all the business activity ratio must less than 33%. So on the other hand, if exist such activity that is non-compliant, financial screenings need to report the ratio so that it's remain in the acceptable rates. Otherwise, the company will not be declared as a non-Sharia compliance company. Okay, now let's discuss on the measures applies for the company with activities comprising for goods principles and non-permissible activity. So, based on the informations that I found from the website Bursa Malaysia, uh, I I found that the company with the comprising both permissible and non-permissible activity, the SAC of the Securities Commission Malaysia will measure the level of mixed contribution from the permissibles and non-permissible activities toward the turnover and also profit before tax of the company. Meaning that here, SAC of the Securities Commission Malaysia and Dow Jones will use the benchmark based on ijtihad or known as the Sharia-based reasoning. So if the contribution of the non-permissible activity exceeds the benchmark, the securities or stock will be classified as Sharia non-compliance. And SAC also will assess the financial management of the company by looking at the company financial ratio benchmark. And the financial ratio benchmark are actually we want to measure the riba and riba based element within the company statements of financials position. For example, let's say the core business of the company is Sharia compliant, but the subsidiary is not Sharia compliant. So in this situation, we need to do like manual Sharia screening by using the business industry classification. Here we will do screenings toward the financial statements of the company in order to like kind of review on their earnings at the end of the years. And in addition, the SAC of Security Commission will also take into account the qualitative aspect which involve public perceptions or image of the company activities from the perspective of the Islamic teaching. Okay, moving into the qualitative aspects considered by the SAC of Securities Commission Malaysia in assessing the financial management and performance of the company. So basically, business screening is known as a qualitative screen where it's actually to analyze the core business of the company. For qualitative tests, it will not involve any benchmark from the Securities Commission or Dow Jones, but it is actually the process to decide the status of the company based on the case by case basis, meaning that AC will look on the image of the companies that they are bringing in the market. For example, if the company promoted a business related to the alcohol or serve alcohol to the client, which is the activity is clearly against the Sharia principles, definitely public will think that this company is not Sharia compliant, right? So, but AC will monitor this company in order to ensure that they are maintaining in several ratios basic requirement in the stock market. Okay, on the other hand, centralized and good corporate governance framework will give a kind of positive impacts towards shareholders and financial institutions if there are any issues or conflicts arise among them. And based on the articles written by the Omar Farouk and Ahmad Al-Hakam from one of the university in Egypt and Morocco, they discuss on the performance of Sharia compliance firms and non-Sharia compliance firms in MENA. So in these articles, the author is actually mentions that investors nowadays are more prefer to involve in the Sharia compliance stock because they are more interested toward the business that follow the ways of Islamic Sharia principle. So from the research, we found that the company that follow the religious values and have a good corporate governance, such as good ethical behaviors conducts in their management, transparencies, and avoid any fraudulence, have performed better compared to the non-Sharia compliant, especially in the financial reportings of the company. And Sharia compliance company probably have a good Sharia governance framework or known as a SGF and possess a higher quality of financial reporting because the transaction and reporting is normally based on the Islamic law. And beside that, mostly the Sharia compliance company practice good corporate governance principle such as transparent behaviors, truthfulness, in order to ensure the timely and accurate disclosure in all situations with regards to financials, reportings, and managements of the corporations. And in addition, good corporate governance practice will be protect the right of the shareholders and equitable treatment shareholders, and throughout the comprehensive goods goods governance conduct, it can bring a good values and increase the trust of from the shareholders and also the stakeholders. So this is because a company with the good corporate governance, we try to manage their financial with honesty, and we try to perform as best as they can to avoid from any fraud, illegal activities and error, especially in financial report of the company that normally raise and issues and conflict inside it. So since compliance companies are more transparent, so it bring a good perspective from the public, especially towards the investor, because Islamic code of conduct by the Sharia compliance company can maintain the accountability, especially in reporting the financial report. So as a result, the manipulations and issues in the financial statements of the company can be reduced, because the Sharia compliance companies have greatest motivations to provide the high quality of financial reportings. Okay. So that is why transparency and non speculations um, may attract the investor to invest in the Sharia compliance stock that listed in the Bursa Malaysia. Okay, last but not least, after what I have been shared with you guys in this video related to the stock screening, ratio analysis, and corporate governance, there are some conflict views regarding on the performance of the Sharia compliance firms and non-Sharia compliance firm. So the first issue that has been raised is that sometimes people say that Sharia compliance brings disadvantage compared to the non-Sharia compliance. In terms of regulations analysis, we found that Sharia compliance usually generate lower returns compared to non-Sharia compliant, because of their financial characteristics of the Sharia compliance company is low leverage, low account receivables, and low cash, which might be one of the reasons for the Sharia company firms to lose an opportunity to grow and develop big project. Plus, they might be not able to maintain the business network because they have insufficient cash and low potential client. Besides, low leverage will reduce the threat of liquidations, and indirectly it leads the high agencies problems to the company, to the Sharia compliance company. Thus, it is impact the performance of the firms in order for them to grow in the futures. And next is the issues of earnings growth for Sharia compliant firm is less than the earnings of for non-Sharia compliant firm, due to the fact that Sharia compliance firm Sharia compliant firm restrict their companies from using the capital sources such as debt, so it avoid themselves from grab certain growth opportunity. Last issue is that we notice actually non-Sharia compliant will suffer a lot during the financial crisis due to their high leverage and high receivables might lead their clients from to default. But during the stable crisis, non-Sharia compliant perform better in their business. It differs from the Sharia compliance. During the normal crisis, they will be categorized as the underperform due to the lack of receivables and lack of lower leverage. But during the crisis, or during the economic crisis, um, we found that Sharia compliance firms are the one who perform well because they have low risk in default from the clients, because of their low leverage and low receivables. So they can survive during the economy downturn as they have lower debt. So I think that's all from me. I hope we can get some input from this video. Thank you so much.